Welcome to Full Throttle, where we sit down with the women shaping business, industries, and culture to talk about what really drives them. Drew, ready to go full throttle?
Let's go.
Okay, let's start with some rev up questions to warm each other up.
Beautiful.
Matcha or martini?
Honestly, neither.
I love it. Okay, drink of choice then.
Coke Zero, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The OG.
OG.
I love it.
Always
okay.
there.
Fabric you'd marry and fabric you'd banish.
Silk, because I basically only work with silk, and banish polyester.
Yes.
Not a fan.
Yeah, neither. All right. Most worn piece in your wardrobe?
I mean, honestly, like a good pair of boots, like these boots, I think I've had them, like a vintage pair. I'll wear them until they die and then I'll get them like resold.
Fashion trend you wish would disappear forever?
I mean, I think just the whole general thing of like the trend of fast fashion and people just like always wanting something new and it being really cheap. I hate that trend. But in terms of like style choice, like go for whatever you love. Like never regret it. That's fine.
I love that. If your brand had a signature cocktail, what's in it?
Probably like I'm not a big drinker, but if I was to get a drink, it would be something along the lines of like a spicy margarita, but something fun in it.
I love
like a fun kind of fruit or like citrus put in.
And that's exactly what Redrew is.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, let's dive into the hot take. I'm going to ask you questions about hot topics.
Okay.
Do you think that micro trends like TikTok aesthetics are killing personal style, or are they democratizing fashion inspiration?
I think it's a bit of both. I think people that are generally wanting to be told what to do, it's easy for people to just go on there and their styles are just like told to them. But I think that people that have always been individualistic in what they want to do, I don't think it will really influence them too much.
Yeah, that's so true.
So depends on the person.
Yep. Okay, so the concept of archival fashion, it has exploded. Do you think Gen Z's obsession with nostalgia helps or harms originality?
I think it can be both. I mean, like if you've always been a person that is obsessed with like pulling from the archives, I think you're always going to be really individualistic with your choices. Whereas some people, it's like it is almost the trend. So they're going to go and jump on TikTok or whoever their favorite influencer is and copy exactly what they're doing. Yep. So yeah, but like I've always been a girl. I love like vintage shopping. I wear vintage or I wear Redrew. That's like basically how I dress.
Yes. And I can see the inspiration of vintage in Redrew.
Thank you.
Yes, which is why I love it.
I get a lot of inspiration from all the amazing vintage pieces and designers.
Yeah, which makes your brand so unique as well.
Thank you.
Do you think Australian fashion and all the amazing designers that we have on our shores, do you think we're having a global moment, or do you think we're still kind of playing catch up with Europe and the US?
I think it's totally like Australia has an amazing presence overseas.
Yeah.
I do think though that we've got like very specific voices that are known in terms of like what kind of designs are reaching the global kind of stage. But I think like, especially in America, you hear that it's an Australian designer and people are already interested. Yeah. So I think Australian fashion's doing really well. The only thing is like, I wish it was kind of kept more in Australia because I feel like as soon as an Australian designer is doing really well, they like pack up and like go to the US.
Yeah.
And I feel like we should keep the representation here and like focus on building the industry here a bit more.
Definitely. Why do you think that people in the US love Australian fashion and Australian things in general? Like, what's in that?
I think it's like very similar people. You know, I feel like Australians watch a lot of like US TV and like follow the culture very closely. So the two cultures are super similar. I think the US is almost like a more exaggerated version of Australia and we're just like a little more low key, but I think we like very similar things.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay, let's go into the blueprint. So let's go behind the scenes into Redrew and what has inspired you to build the wonderful label that you have. Yeah. So you did a fashion and textiles degree before launching Redrew. What was the original creative vision and how do you think it's evolved as you've become a designer?
So I started Redrew while I was actually still studying.
Ah, wow.
So it was very much like I always wanted to one day be a business owner.
Yeah.
And I think while I was studying, I've never been a person who's like super into like school, university, all of that. I mean, like doing fashion textiles, it's obviously very different to your typical degree, but I was like craving something more.
Yep.
And I thought, I've got the time to kind of just start something while I'm doing uni. And I thought, why not start my own fashion label? Because in my mind, I was like, it's something that I never want to do down the line. But like while I'm studying, I can get clothes made and like start a little business. Why not? So that's why I started. And it started like tiny. I had, I think, like 4 pieces in my collection. And it was like, it was like completely made to order. I had this lady who I was working with who was like an hour and a half drive away. And like, as I got an order, I'd like get the pattern pieces cut or I'd cut them myself, go drive them up to her. She'd help me make them. It was a very like slow process.
Yep.
But kind of upon finishing uni, I knew that this is something I wanted to do full time.
Yes.
Just kind of looking into, I guess, like the fashion opportunities that existed within Australia weren't the most amazing opportunities. It was definitely something I'd have to go overseas for. So I thought, let's just keep it going. And it's evolved and grown from there.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you've been stocked in high-end boutiques and major publications. How do you measure your success as a founder and a designer? Would you say it's through those types of things?
I mean, I guess you can say that a little bit. I don't think any of those moments have really made me feel like, oh my God, like I'm here, this is it. But I do think it's good to appreciate it because I think I don't often appreciate it enough in the moment. But I think the most rewarding moments are those like super authentic ones where it's like you run into someone and they're like, oh my God, I've got one of your designs. Or you get tagged in someone's post who's gone and spent their own money purchasing your thing.
Yeah.
Or someone saying like, oh my God, I've never felt more beautiful wearing your dress. Or even like last year, I did the bridesmaid dresses for a wedding.
Oh, they were stunning.
And like knowing that I was there for such a special moment for her and she chose to like work with me for that and having it like cemented like forever in her life. Like she did the bridesmaid dresses for my wedding. Those kinds of moments are really special. So I think it's like the customer moments mean more to me than the more like publicized things.
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
So fashion obviously sits at the intersection of art and commerce. How do you personally negotiate that push-pull? So experimentation versus sell-through?
I think definitely I'm like kind of like the commerce side is much more important for me because at the end of the day, you can't be running a fashion label if you're not making money.
That's right.
Like otherwise it's just like a personal hobby and you should just make clothes for yourself.
Yep.
So in terms of designing, I'm thinking of like definitely following the voice of like what my brand is because I think it's really important for your brand to have a voice so that people know, okay, if I want to wear a dress and feel like this or wear it to this kind of event, what brands am I going to? And I want for specific people and events to think Redrew.
Yeah.
So I think I'm always designing in that kind of space. And then it's like feedback of what my customers are saying and what they're kind of pushing towards and gravitating towards in terms of the designs that exist. And also, like a big thing of my brand is I'm not here to create like seasonal collections where I'm always creating new pieces that are very focused on like the trend of the moment. I want to create designs that will kind of be there with you for a lifetime, essentially. So I'm looking at creating designs that aren't too trendy.
Yes, more timeless.
I want more timeless pieces so you can keep them and keep pulling them out, which means that I'm always like focused on my design vision of creating high quality classic pieces that will definitely be there to like sell and be worn to people.
Yep.
So that's my main focus.
I love that. So you said that you want Redrew to be tied to specific types of events. What are those?
Well, definitely, as I said, weddings. That's a big one.
Yeah.
So a lot of my clientele, they're either brides, they wear not necessarily, I've got a few people that have worn it for more casual weddings as the bride, but for events around that moment, you know, hens or like recovery brunches or your dress that you wear after.
Yep.
A lot of bridesmaids, a lot of what people would wear to attend a wedding.
Yep.
And then like birthdays, a more formal kind of like dinner moment, just something where you're dressing up a little. I feel like that's definitely dressing up more so for Australians. I do feel for my American customers, they're happy to wear a more formal piece for just like a casual dinner kind of thing. So they wear it, I think, more regularly. Whereas for Australians, it's more so it's like an event, it's a birthday, it's a moment.
Interesting. Are there distinctive types or pieces that Australian customers buy versus American customers?
Like, honestly, I think the same purchases are being made for both, whereas I think it depends on what the purchase is for, will depend on which country.
Yes, okay.
So like my Australians would be buying, you know, a full-length silk dress because they're like, I'm going to a wedding, it's for that. Whereas Americans, I think they'll sometimes just buy it and be like, it's okay, like I'm going to wear it to a dinner or I'm going to wear it to this casual thing. Like I'm not buying it so specifically for a moment. And I do think that also is reflective of kind of the currency and the value of the Australian dollar versus the US dollar, because the dresses are far more expensive to buy as an Australian than American.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Let's talk about brand building. How do you approach building your brand identity in an industry where everybody's fighting for differentiation?
I think, once again, it's having like a very like strong voice and vision of like what your brand is, so that you're really building a customer base that understands exactly what your brand is and they can identify it really easily without like being told this is a Redrew piece. So you can just like step into a room and it's like, oh, that person's wearing a Redrew design.
I love that.
That's kind of my biggest goal.
So
I'm not focused on creating like a hyper trendy moment as well as design. So on like social media, I'm not really focusing on like having this like one viral specific moment, though. Like, I guess that would be nice. I think if I was having a viral moment, I would rather it be because it's been like worn by some big celebrity or influencer or model, as opposed to doing something, I guess, maybe a little more crazy or scandalous, because I guess that's not really what my brand is. It's meant to be a bit more like classic feminine vibe. But yeah.
Do you think you've already achieved that? I mean, I know that I can recognize your signature pieces.
I think I hopefully have. I think the biggest thing is obviously the people who know that my brand exists. It's still very small. So the people who know, I think they are really good at identifying. I'm always really flattered when, like, for instance, I was at a friend's birthday a few weeks ago and I was wearing a dress that wasn't mine. And people kept coming up to me because they knew that I had a brand. They kept coming up to me and being like, that's not Redrew,
oh my
is
God.
it? And I was like, no, it's not. I'm
like
so
kind
flattered
of caught
that
out.
I was like, I'm kind of flattered that you actually know that I'm not wearing my brand without, because they're like, that's not a design you're working on. So I was like, no, it's not. To be fair, it was a dress-up party, so it's definitely like, no, I wasn't meant to be wearing a Redrew. But I do think like people who know my brand, they are pretty good at identifying what isn't Redrew, even if it's a design that hasn't like been launched yet.
Yeah, it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you feel the guilt of not wearing Redrew?
I think to like reduce that feeling of guilt, that's why like I'll wear vintage or Redrew pretty much. Unless obviously like a friend is a designer, I'm always there to like support another designer. But yeah, I love kind of, I would think before even starting Redrew, I was mainly wearing like vintage pieces because I just find it fun, and it's I love the hunt of like a vintage design.
And you're a fashion designer, so you have an eye for it.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, I was in Japan not long ago.
Yeah.
And obviously they have like amazing vintage.
Mhm.
And I was told to go to all these really cool stores, but I literally got in there. I was like, holy shit, there's like 100 leather jackets in front of me.
It's
and
overwhelming.
I cannot see the difference.
So overwhelming.
I literally left. I was like, I can't do it.
I know. No, and like shopping in person for vintage is like, I find that really stressful. I find it easier online.
Yeah.
Because I can like have all my tabs open and be like, okay, I can suss through it. Whereas in person, it's more stressful. And then it's like you go and you find your your perfect piece, and then you realize it's not your size. And that's really depressing too.
So true.
Especially shoes. Like shoes. I mean, like when I go to Japan, I can't buy shoes because like no women have my shoe size.
Yeah,
so that's annoying. I can only buy men's shoes.
I mean, kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, I won't complain.
No.
It saves you money too.
That's right.
Good.
So true.
Yeah.
What are your favorite vintage stores online?
The Real.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love the Real. It's so good. I feel like I like shopping there the most because that's like a real hunt. And like you can find a piece and you'll be like, this is a crazy price. Like it's such a steal.
Wow.
And I found it in my size. And like, because there's so much there. Like you can really find some like hidden gems.
Yep.
Whereas I do feel like the vintage stores that are like collated by whoever the person is that running it, like it's beautiful. And you're like, okay, every single piece I want, but it's not as much of a hunt, which I kind of enjoy. And then also like Depop can sometimes be a bit good for that because that's also quite a hunt. And you can find some pieces that are like actually really good.
Yeah. So interesting. Okay. Walk me through the actual design process. So from first sketch to finished piece, what does it look like?
So basically, in terms of like when I'm creating my design, sometimes I'm just like, I have this like vision of what I want to create and I work from there. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I really need to create a piece that's going to be working for this kind of event. So maybe I'm like, okay, I need a more like, I've got a lot of full length gowns. I need a more cocktail thing. Yeah. So I start from there. And then it's like, I kind of try and create either a mood board or do some kind of like draping. So I kind of know what I'm wanting to achieve. And then I'll start with my sketch. And then once I'm kind of nearing the end of my sketch, a really important thing that people don't realize is like, how are you actually getting like in and out of that garment?
So true.
So you need to then think, okay, like where are the closures going to be? Am I going to be doing zippers? Am I going to be doing buttons? Because obviously like if you're going to be doing buttons or ties, that's like more complicated. But like generally I prefer the finish of that.
Yes.
But then it's like more expensive because you're doing like self-covered buttons that are being made with silk and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then that's the next process. Then I also, at the same time, I'm thinking while I'm designing, because I don't want to be restricted, like what actual fabric am I going to use? So like generally it's always silk, but it's like what kind of silk? Am I using a more structured silk, a very like draped silk? Is it going to be a thinner or a thicker? Like do I want it to be sheer? Do I want it to be lined?
Yep.
So all of that. And basically once I've kind of group together all of that, then I send my sketch with all of my notes off to my pattern makers. They're in the Northern Beaches.
Yeah.
And they'll go and they will make the pattern either just off sketch or if I've like draped or sampled something, then I'll give that to them as well. So it's easier to reference. And then order my fabric, and then I get into like the sampling stage with my manufacturers here in Sydney, and then they start sampling, and hopefully it's not too many samples because I'm like so eager to like get to shooting it and like launching. So yeah, and then sometimes there's like a fabric change or a closure change or making like the closure like or the zipper longer because it's like in terms of ease of getting in and out. And then as soon as that's done, then it's like off to go and shoot, which is really nice because I'm not like waiting for like a full collection to be complete. Sometimes I'm like, I'm happy to launch like one piece. I just do a shoot, one piece. And I think that's another thing that's like unique to just like having your own brand that's not on a calendar is you can do that. And I do think that also achieves like when you launch that dress, only that dress, it makes it more memorable to your audience, as opposed to like you've launched 10 pieces and you kind of forget 9 of them and you only remember the one you really like.
Yeah.
So
that's so true. What would you say the most taxing stage of the process is? The shoot, or is it the logistics of distribution? What would it be?
I think like the whole creative process isn't too taxing. I mean, I think the hardest thing I find is because I don't have like an in-house team that I'm working solely with. It is like hard not being there when they are like creating the sample or doing the pattern. It makes it a slower process. So it's like handing something off, then waiting for it to come back to make like my first point of like what my remark is or whatever I have to change. That's kind of the hardest process, I think, of the designing.
Yeah.
And also sometimes it's like, I think letting a piece go is also sometimes really hard when you've like trying too hard to push for it to work. And it was like a vision in your mind. And then either it's like to a point where you hate it or you're like, this is just never going to structurally work.
Yeah, wow.
And like, I think also because in my mind, I'm always thinking like, I need to ensure that my dress is going to be enjoyed by a lot of people. If it is something that's like way too complicated to wear, you just have to kind of let it go sometimes.
Yeah, that is really sad.
It is sad. But sometimes those pieces then I have just for myself and like I can wear it.
Exactly.
Something.
Yeah. Do you do custom pieces, so one-offs for people?
I do. I used to do a bit more of that. I think where I'm at right now, it's quite challenging because I think a lot of people, when I was doing that, it was far more private.
Yeah.
And then when people heard I was doing it, I think there was this large influx of customers being like, I want custom, I want custom, I want custom. And then they're quite shocked when they hear how much it costs.
Well, that's right. But your cogs, there's not much you can do.
It's really expensive. Like if you can hear like how many samples have to be made, the fabric, blah, blah, blah. Like it's a very expensive process. Yeah. So I think people think like, oh, like maybe it'll be an extra $100 to do a custom. And I'm like, no. So I think it was like maybe a bit confusing for my audience for a while there. So I've tried to kind of steer more away from custom right now.
Makes sense.
And more so do almost like kind of a custom for myself. And then if I launch images of that saying it was a custom redrew, if the feedback's really good, then I can go and like launch it for everyone.
True.
So I'd rather do it that way.
No, I love that. Yeah. Okay. So at the moment, obviously your approach to production is small runs and slow output. Mm-hmm. Do you see that changing for future scalability?
Definitely. I think if you're, stocked on another online retailer, that's something where you can easily go and do larger production.
Yep.
And then also something I'm really hoping is having someone come on full time that will work with me purely in just doing like making.
Love it.
So that I can have someone that's there to constantly be sampling and constantly being like pumping out orders and all of that.
Yep.
I think that will be really nice. So I'm hoping maybe sometime next year setting up a little studio for like to have a full-time seamstress.
Oh, great. Oh my gosh, how exciting.
Yeah.
We'll get into the future shortly.
Yeah.
Do you see sustainability as an explicit pillar of your practice, or would you say it's simply the byproduct of good design principles?
I think it's more so the byproducts. Like I'm never like front of mind being like sustainable. This has to be sustainable. I think it's like a tag that I've put on my brand because it is sustainable. Right. Whereas I think if you are making like high quality pieces using high quality fabric and your main principle of your design is like, I am trying to create a piece that is going to be kept in your wardrobe forever. Like if that alone, like that's sustainable, surely.
It's inevitably sustainable.
Because it's like a dress that it's never going to like die. It'll be reworn, if not by you, by someone else, because you can hand it off to a friend or like you can sell it to someone, but I think that's almost the most important part of like sustainability.
For sure.
Yeah.
How do you feel about people selling your pieces?
I mean, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I'm
still out in the world.
Flattered.
Yeah.
I mean, technically missing a sale, but also in some ways potentially not, because potentially it's someone that couldn't afford it full price.
That's right.
Or maybe it's a style that like no longer exists.
Yeah.
So then they get to enjoy it. So I don't
It's even
mind.
exposure, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
you see this beautiful Redrew dress, you don't know of the brand, you buy it secondhand and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is the best ever.
Yeah, I think,
And
mean,
then they're
another
accustomed.
thing that exists nowadays, there's so many of those like online dress rental platforms.
Yeah.
That's another thing that exists. And I'm like, you know what? Like often I can even see when someone buys it and I can see like they put their business name, it's like a dress rental place. And I'm like, you know what? Like, it's fine. It's exposure. Like those girls that are renting it, they probably weren't going to buy it anyway because it wasn't in their budget. Maybe it's like a younger girl and they want it for like their formal or something, and they're not willing to, you know, drop $800 on a dress. And I'm like, that's so fine. Like, go and like let this, like, it would be a dream of mine when I was like younger to be able to be wearing more expensive dresses and having access to them. So it's something that I probably would have wanted to be able to do when I was younger. So why not?
It's a lovely outlook.
Thank you.
I like that. It's very in your nature. You are very kind, so it makes sense.
Thanks.
So let's go into in good taste. So I want to hear your icon, your indulgence, and your inspiration. So let's start with icon. It doesn't have to be someone in the fashion world. It can be anyone in your life.
Mm-hmm. I think icon is kind of my parent.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
They're business owners themselves.
Yeah.
And they work so hard.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I think without them, I mean, one, just like giving me exposure to like how to run a business.
Yes.
I would have never have done it. And also just like all the support they've given me in terms of like from when I was young, just like helping like, you know, just like in terms of my education and exposure to like travel and just all these like events that I had throughout my life. And then how amazing they've been with me now in terms of like just being there for advice for my business.
Yeah.
Or even like my mum being an absolute legend, stepping in for Redrew, helping me whenever I need it. If it's like a photo shoot or packing an order or, you know, going and helping me with my emails if I don't have time.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think my parents.
I really love that. Indulgence, something that you won't give up.
I think travel.
Yeah.
That's like my big indulgence.
Yep.
I love traveling.
Where to?
I mean, honestly, anywhere, but I think like Japan. I'm notorious for going to Japan all the time. It's just one, it's just like I love going and just like being immersed in such a different culture, which Japan really offers. And I think with like the help of my brother stepping in and learning Japanese and traveling with him there, I'm really immersed in the culture.
Wait, I love that. Did he do that because he was interested or he was just being helpful?
No, because it was for him. But like for me, that's really helpful. Going to Japan with someone who speaks Japanese, it changes your whole travel experience. So I think, being able to travel and also like being able to incorporate it with work also at the same time is really nice. Like I always, if I'm traveling somewhere, I'm like, I am pulling out a really cool photo shoot wherever I am. Like, why not?
So cool. So true.
So combining the two. So it's like indulgence and work at the same time to justify the indulgence.
Yeah. Would you open a store?
Overseas or here?
Yeah. I mean, either.
Definitely. I think like, in terms of everyone's like, oh, like online, like that's so smart. You know, you don't have to waste paying rent and blah, blah, blah. I think, like it's really important, like having a really strong online presence. Yeah. But I do feel I am consistently hit with people being like, I really want to try the piece on before I buy it. Yeah. And it does make it like more complicated for people who, I mean, like obviously, you know, you can always like return a dress, but I think people do like seeing and trying something in online. And I do think also like when you are seeing a pure silk dress in person, you're like, wow, this is special. Whereas like online, you can't really, you're not feeling it, you're not seeing it. Yeah. It's like a very different experience. So I do think I would like to. I think if I was opening in Sydney, I'd like to combine it as like a bit of an office and like a little showroom boutique at the same time. To make it like a very like all-in-one space. Yeah. Because I think it's also interesting people like seeing a little more behind the scenes. Yeah. Like I remember when I was younger and I went to LA and this was like when RUMI was really big. And I realized you could like email them and go to like their kind of like their where like everyone was like working and you could go and like, and that was their room where, remember that bed they had?
Yeah.
And you could go there and try on their stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I'm booking this.
I
And I
love
booked
it.
and I went and I like took photos there and everything. And it was like the coolest experience. So having something a little like that where it's really special.
Exactly.
I'd love to
and it makes the brand more authentic. And I say this all the time when I speak to founders, and it's that people buy into the person and the founder and then the brand. I mean, obviously in tandem, but you know, so often I see the person behind the brand, and that is what intrigues me.
Especially small brands.
Definitely.
It's like, you know, you've got to create like an audience from scratch.
Yeah.
It has to really stand out. Like if you're going in and you're starting this huge brand, you've got this huge backing, like, no, it's not as important because you're just going to be out there. You'll be on like a billboard and on all the ads. Like it's fine. Whereas when you're a small brand, it's like you really have to make people remember you.
Yep.
And like that's one of the things that I always think, especially in terms of like social media posting, is like, you know, people and you're on Instagram and you're like, who do I care about their photos?
Yeah.
And like generally big brands, you actually couldn't care less about their photos.
No, it's like mass produced.
It's
like,
just, it's like whatever. And it's like people who you're not as close with, you don't really care about their photos. Whereas if it's like you're posting your brand social media as if it was your personal Instagram account.
Yeah.
So much more interesting.
It's considered, it's curated.
Yeah. People
it's
are
so
like
true.
engaged.
Let's move into unfiltered. So these are the more heavy hitting questions.
Okay.
What's one part of the creative process that people completely underestimate or romanticize?
I think they underestimate how expensive the whole process is and how long it takes. Like people will be like, I want a custom. I want it to be $500 and I want it to be done next week. And I'm like, that's absolutely never.
I'm like, I want a unicorn.
Literally. I'm like, if I'm doing like production of a dress that already exists,
Yeah.
that's like 6 to 8 weeks, you know, like even in terms of like sourcing the fabric, bringing it in, it's a long process. I think that's something that's very underestimated, the expense and time.
Yeah, true. And how do you communicate that to customers without, I guess, losing them as a customer?
I think you kind of be transparent.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, like, I mean, whenever I've done a custom, I'm like very transparent. I'm like, okay, fabric's going to cost this much.
Yeah.
It's going to be this many meters of fabric. Like the sampling process is going to cost this much and it's going to cost that much time. It's going to take that much time.
Yeah.
And then, okay, we're going to do a sample. If that sample doesn't work, we've just had our entire outfit made for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Now we're going to have to start again.
Exactly.
So you have to be super transparent about it.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I remember when I launched Balm, when it first came out, and it went into Sephora online, and it was expensive. Obviously, well, Sephora, I think I could say it takes a 60% margin.
Yeah.
And it was already expensive to produce because my MOQs are still low. And then this influencer took a screenshot of it on the Sephora website and was like, this is disgraceful. I can't believe how much people are charging for 30-gram pot of highlighter. This is just outrageous.
Yeah.
And I literally had just launched and I was like, this is the worst thing ever. She had like thousands and thousands of followers. And I was like, if only they could understand. It's like just me, like trying to make it work. And it would be the same for you. Yeah.
And I'm like, honestly, like I don't care about like anything else. But like when people do that to small businesses, the amount of like things I've experienced as a small business owner where I'm like, I don't think you understand. Like you going and doing that is so detrimental.
For sure.
And I think people sometimes just treat you as like this huge corporation. And you're like, no, like because of that, I'm not going to be able to now go and afford to do like my next production run or whatever the case is.
Yeah, exactly.
I think people have no concept and they just like to compare you to what like the equivalent of like either fast fashion or like a very cheap, you know, whatever kind of beauty product would cost. Made who knows where, made out of who knows what.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'll compare it to that. And not only that, they're probably doing like 500,000 units.
That's
so they're paying those prices too.
Exactly.
And you're like, you're kidding me right now.
I
like
know.
you don't understand business. So I think anyone trying to tear down small businesses.
If it was up to us, we would make it, you know, as cheap as we can, right? But
like at the end of the day, I guarantee you my margins are smaller than those people. They're making more money than me. So like it's totally unfair. Like a lot of the stuff I've done, especially at the beginning, like I've been making it at a loss.
Yes,
you know what I
that's
mean?
exactly
So
right.
it's like the sacrifices you have being a business owner, not only like making things at a loss, like I'm not being paid a salary.
No.
You know, like how much money do you think I'm actually making?
know.
It's like me doing it and taking the sacrifices to hopefully grow into something
Exactly.
that will be there. But like, yeah,
know.
I don't think people realize. And I think that's also sometimes if you've never been exposed to either business
Yeah.
or business owners, you don't have any idea.
So true.
Yeah.
Okay. For the record, final segment.
Yes.
If you could see one celebrity wear Redrew, who is it?
I was actually talking about this last night. Probably Hailey Bieber.
Love. Because she's influential or because she fits the aesthetic of Redrew?
Both.
Yeah.
And like in terms of someone with both a reach and also being like really fashion.
Yeah.
True. She's amazing.
I love that.
And she's a business owner herself.
That's right. So she does understand.
Support other business owners. But no, like I feel like her and like the Jessica dress with like some YSL heels, you know, on a night out, like I feel like she'd rock it.
We're going to get there.
One day.
It will happen.
One day.
I know it will.
Yeah.
What legacy do you want Redrew to leave in Australian fashion?
I think bringing things back to being like made in Australia.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of really successful fashion brands. They're not made in Australia.
Wow.
You know, there's barely anything. And it's like reflective of how hard it is to find a manufacturer here because they like don't exist, especially for like women's wear, like formal women's wear, being able to like work with silks. Like it is impossible to find people here. So it would be really nice to like support local industry and see like a growth in terms of manufacturing here and see more factories open. Like even the manufacturers I'm working with right now, like unfortunately it looks like they're probably going to have to close next year. And it's so sad.
It is really sad.
Know? And it's for them, it's just because they're like looking at retirement age.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're just like, once I go, I'm like, oh my God. Like, what am I
do they have a succession plan?
You know, there's like, you see a tiny bit more in Melbourne, you know, but like there's really not enough.
Yeah.
Whereas like there are so many Australian designers.
Yeah.
You should be like supporting local industry. There are so many people out here that could have the skill set to do that.
Yeah.
Open more factories and have things made locally and support like the Australian economy. You know?
Yes. So true. I love that. Okay, last question. Where do you see Redrew in 5 years?
Well, I think it definitely Redrew kind of grows alongside me. So like the designs evolve as I get older. Like when I started, they were far more like kind of more casual wearable pieces. As I'm entering an age where like people are getting married and everything, you can just like see the easy transition of my designs into that.
True.
So I think in 5 years, it'll still be very much those designs because I'll still be in that kind of space.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of growth, like I definitely like to be sold on like an online American platform. That would be really nice.
Like Revolve?
Like Revolve or Forward, something like that. That would be really nice. Definitely like a couple of maybe overseas pop-ups.
Yes.
That would be really fun. Because like half of my customers are American.
Wow.
So it'd be nice to do a pop-up in like either New York or LA.
Amazing.
That'd be lovely.
I would love that.
And then maybe some more kind of events or pop-ups here in Sydney.
Yep.
Something fun in summertime. That would be lovely. Maybe like I was saying earlier, like a little kind of like boutique where I've got like my team in the back.
I love that.
That would be really fun.
It would. Yeah. Oh, well, love you so much. Thanks for coming on. I'm so proud of you and I can't wait to see Redrew.
This is amazing. I'm so
figuring it out
for you. You're doing amazingly.
Thank you.